Episode 8 of 19. Healing together is a fantasy. You heal alone or not at all. Dismantling the we're growing together myth and what to do when you outgrow someone who won't grow with you. They're not coming with you, and that's okay. Episode 8, this episode, dismantles the we're growing together myth and hands you back your clarity. You say you're growing together, but if we're honest, one of you is dragging the other down. You're not healing together. You're healing next to someone who refuses to move. You've been patient. You've sent them resources. You've modeled self-awareness. You've softened your truths so they wouldn't run. And still, they're exactly where you found them. Because growth is not contagious. It's a choice. And they haven't made that choice. You don't evolve as a couple. You evolve as individuals. Individuals who choose to stay connected while doing the hard work. But if only one of you is moving, let's be honest with ourselves here. You're not in a relationship. You're in a hostage situation with feelings. You don't owe your future self to someone who's committed to their past. If you're growing and they're not, leaving them is not abandonment, it's graduation. Stop waiting, stop coaching, stop hoping they'll catch up. Because they won't. And you're allowed to leave without calling it failure. It's just reality. Welcome. Section 1. The Fantasy of Mutual Growth. The montage lied. Two people do not transform as one. You are not a chrysalis built for two. You are a person with choices, with costs. We inherited the we'll grow together story from movies, trauma bonds, and idealism. It feels noble. It sounds safe. It promises you will not have to face the fire alone. But most mutual growth is just codependency with better lighting. Codependency means I trade self-respect for belonging. I carry both our feelings so you never have to learn how. You want to believe the myth because it keeps you from being alone with your truth. Safety, fear of losing them, sunk cost fallacy. Sunk cost means you keep investing because you already paid so much. Growth is internal. It happens in the dark where no one can hold your hand even if they wanted to. Parallel growth is rare because it requires two separate people who both choose the hard thing at the same time. Forced growth is fiction. If you have to drag them, you are just doing prison labor with a kiss. Notice where you soften truth so they will not run. Notice where you hold the flashlight and your breath. Notice where your we keeps you from saying, I am done doing your work. You cannot distribute your awakening like a group project. Your clarity is yours. Their resistance is theirs. So treat it that way. Write 2 columns down on a piece of paper, mine and not mine. Under the mine column, write your feelings, choices, boundaries, and standards. Under the not mine column, write their denial, their pace, their consequences, or at least what you feel or observe these things to be. Circle one thing from the mine column you will act on this week. Speak it out loud, then do it. So let's talk about some non-romantic places we can use this. At work, You start learning how to give direct feedback. Your teammate keeps gossiping instead of owning mistakes. You are not growing together, you are managing dysfunction. With your family, let's say you begin setting sober boundaries, but your siblings keep bringing drama to every holiday. You are not healing as a family, you are choosing sanity. Change is stage-based. Readiness matters. The Stages of Change model says that people move from pre-contemplation to contemplation to preparation to action. You cannot pull someone from pre-contemplation into action with love alone. Motivation that sticks is intrinsic. External pressures may create compliance, but it does not create transformation. Attachment adds fuel. A trauma bond is built on intensity, broken only by intermittent relief. And while intensity feels like depth, it's not. Our brains often mistake familiar pain for safety because being able to predict it gives us a dopamine hit. That is why the wrong person can still feel like home. Put more simply, change happens in steps. And people only take those steps when they decide to. You cannot pull someone into a step they did not choose. Pain mixed with small amounts of relief can glue you to a bad bond. Big feelings feel like depth, but they are not always depth. The brain likes what it can predict, even when it hurts, because predictable feels safer than unknown. Now, as a counterpoint, parallel growth can happen. Two people can choose hard things at the same time. It just is not automatic. It is a pact renewed in behavior, not words. So let's get into some key terms and simple definitions here that we're talking about. Trauma bond, an intense attachment built on harm plus relief. Codependency, keeping the relationship stable by abandoning yourself. Sunk cost fallacy, throwing good time after bad because you already paid. Remember that growth is not contagious. Choice is contagious. Section 2. When one partner is growing and the other is not. You go to therapy. They mock it. You read, reflect, and recalibrate. They repeat. You own your triggers. They weaponize theirs. You say it's a phase, but it has been a pattern for years. Be honest with yourself. You are not confused. You are hoping. Hope is beautiful, but hope without data is self-harm. Loving someone does not mean they are capable of walking with you. Capability is not a compliment or an insult. It is reality. Treat it like weather. Adjust your route. For example, with therapy, you share insights. They call it overthinking. With conflict, you ask for repair. They scorekeep. With accountability, you apologize first. They collect your apologies like trophies. They may not even hear your apology. With consistency, you set a new boundary. They test it until you cave. With the future, you suggest a clear plan. They promise a vibe. So now let's look into some non-romantic mirrors. With friendship, you stop drinking. Your closest friend only invites you to bars. That is not support. That's sabotage with a smile. In the gym, you build a recovery routine. Your lifting partner keeps pushing ego maxes and ridicules deload weeks. That's not a challenge, that is negligence. With a startup, you implement retros and accountability. Your co-founder prefers hype. You are not partners, You are ballast. Now, let's look at the science behind all this. Triggers are fast survival responses. They are not villains. When someone weaponizes triggers, they use their pain to control the terms of contact. Adult development models show uneven growth across domains. Cognitive insight can outpace emotional regulation. That gap is where harm leaks. Motivational interviewing teaches that change talk must come from the person. If you're the one doing all the talking about growth, they're not growing, they're just listening. Maybe. Put into simpler terms, a trigger is your fast body alarm. It is not evil. When someone uses their trigger to control the room, that is harm. Some people can talk about growth but cannot calm themselves yet. That gap is where damage happens. Real change sticks when the person wants it for themselves. If you are pushing them, they are not ready. So let's get into practice. Let's do a 3-step audit. Let's go ahead and label the steps as keep, confront, and quit. To do this, list 3 recurring dynamics. For each one, decide keep it as is, confront with a deadline and a measurable shift, or quit it if the shift does not happen. Put the dates on paper. Hold yourself to them. Now, as a counterpoint to all of this, again, give grace a runway, not a lifetime. People will always stumble on the way to change because they are human, just as you are human, whether you hate that or not. A clear standard with time-boxed compassion can be love. Endless extensions are not love. They are avoidance wrapped in good intentions. So again, let's look at key terms and brief concrete definitions that we've used here. Trigger, a cue that activates an old protective response. Weaponizing a trigger, using your pain to excuse harmful behaviors. Boundary, the rule for how people can engage with you. A boundary is something you enforce on yourself, not others. People who think boundaries are about others, well, they jumped into the deep end without ever learning how to actually swim. They are not there yet. The takeaway from all of this? If they will not walk, stop dragging. Section 3. What keeps you stuck in the fantasy? It is not love that keeps you there, in the fantasy. It is the fog, guilt, hope, fear, identity, projection. Each one whispers a different version of stay. None of them pay your bill with reality. Guilt. I am leaving them behind. Translation. I am responsible for their adulthood. That is not love. That is control in a cardigan. Hope. They will catch up. Well, hope is beautiful. Hope without evidence is a sedative. Fear. What if no one else can meet me here? Fear confuses rarity with scarcity. Your standards are not a drought. They are a filter. Of course, if you can't meet your own standards, you are a child who needs some work, my friend. Identity. If I leave, I gave up. When our identity is built on endurance, suffering turns into a personality trait. Projection. But I see who they could be. You're dating a forecast, but you can't kiss potential. You live with patterns daily. So let's look into the mirror. Name the last 3 times you overrode your data to protect your story. Write what actually happened, not your interpretation, the facts. Notice how fast your body tries to edit the page. Crazy, right? Now, for your own sovereignty, you're not abandoning them, you're walking away from the fantasy. And those are not the same thing. Your life is not a rescue mission. Now, let's look at some non-romantic examples. With work, you keep covering for a colleague because they're under a lot of stress. Your guilt keeps the whole team sick. Your family, you keep lending money because this time they mean it. Your hope funds their pattern. Fitness, you stay in a training group that ridicules recovery because they are beasts. Your identity loves the grit. Your joints pay the bill. Now, let's look at the science behind all this. Sunk cost fallacy keeps you investing because you have already invested. Loss aversion makes you cling to a poor relationship to avoid the pain of starting over. Intermittent reinforcement strengthens attachment to inconsistent partners because unpredictable rewards spike dopamine. Yep, it's that easy. Attachment styles cover the fog. Anxious attachment reads distance as a threat and chases. Avoidant attachments reads closeness as a threat and retreats. Both confuse system relief with love. Clarity requires tolerating short-term anxiety in order to reset long-term patterns. Putting all of this in simpler terms, basically, we keep paying into bad deals because we already paid too much. We hate losing more than we like winning, so we cling. On-again, off-again attention makes attachment stronger. Attachment style colors all of this. Some chase, some run. Clarity means tolerating short-term nerves so you can get long-term peace. If you can't tolerate short-term nerves, you are pretty much screwed already. So let's practice. Do another 5-minute audit, if you will. Write 5 sentences, one for each fog. Under guilt, write, I am not responsible for their change. Under hope, write, my standard requires evidence with dates. Under fear, write, I can survive empty space. Under identity, write, I am more than how much pain I can carry. Under projection, write, I will date who they are, not who I imagine. Say them out loud, twice. Then pick one boundary you will enforce this week. Because again, boundaries are about yourself, not other people. It could be about your reaction to other people and controlling your reaction. But it is not about those other people. And it's amazing to me how many people I've run across that do not know this fundamental, simple difference. But then again, they're usually the people that find healing language and use it as a front to avoid growth. So there's that. The key terms here with a brief, concrete definition, or one-liners if you will, are as follows. Sunk cost fallacy is throwing more time at a bad bet because you already paid. Intermittent reinforcement is unpredictable rewards that intensify attachment. Projection is seeing your wish on someone else's face. Now, before you get all grim on me, let's acknowledge a counterpoint. Holding hope is not the problem. Holding responsibility for two people is. Let hope live, but make it pay rent. The biggest thing to remember here, do not confuse your fantasy with their capacity. Section 4. Growth is not a team sport. You face your demons alone. You rewrite your narrative alone. You sit with your triggers and choose differently, alone. Unless the other person is doing the same work, they are not your partner. They are your anchor. Growth is solitary. Relationships are optional. A relationship can support your work, but it cannot substitute for it. So let's look in the mirror again. Where are you trying to outsource your courage? What are you calling co-regulation, what is actually emotional dependency? Co-regulation is healthy nervous system support between people. Dependency is when your nervous system refuses to function without theirs. Set the standard you live by, not a threat, a lighthouse. This is how I handle conflict. This is how I repair. This is how I rest. Join me or do not. And then watch behavior, not words. Some non-romantic examples of this could be when it comes to fitness. A coach can cue your form, they cannot lift your bar. In sobriety, a sponsor can guide, but they cannot refuse the drink for you. In creative work, a mastermind can challenge, but they cannot finish your draft. So how do we practice this? Well, we're going to do the 30-30 rule. 30 days. Choose one growth behavior you will own without reminders. Some examples could be a daily nervous system regulation for 5 minutes, a written repair script after conflict within 24 hours, your phone in another room at midnight. Track it. If you need the other person to comply in order to execute your practice, pick a different practice. So let's talk about the science behind this. Self-determination theory says sustainable change is built on autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Autonomy means the choice is mine. Competence means I can do the skill. Relatedness means I feel connected while I do it. Relationships help with relatedness. They do not create autonomy or competence. Emotional regulation has 2 lanes: self-regulation and co-regulation. Both of these lanes matter. Co-regulation is the hand on your back while you breathe. Self-regulation is you choosing to breathe when the hand is not there. Without self-regulation, co-regulation becomes a leash. So let's talk about the key terms we've used and their definitions. Co-regulation is a shared nervous system steadiness during stress. Self-regulation is calming and directing your own nervous system. A boundary is a rule you enforce on yourself about what you allow. So how about a counterpoint? Community accelerates growth when each person owns their lane. Collective healing spaces can be sacred. The moment the circle replaces personal responsibility, the medicine turns to sugar, though. Write your personal standard in 4 lines: conflict, repair, rest, truth. Read it before hard conversations. If the other person repeatedly violates the standard, stop negotiating, start deciding. Remember, love can walk beside you, but it cannot walk for you. Section 5. What to do when you outgrow someone. Outgrowing someone is not betrayal. It is measurement. You measured reality against your standard. Reality answered. Grieve who you were with them, then act like the person you became. When it comes to grieving who you were with them, hold a memorial for the version of you that fit into that relationship. Name what that era gave you. Name what it cost you. Grief is not a sign you chose wrong. Grief is the bill for having loved. And next, stop coaching them. Coaching is control with empathy clothes. Support says, here's my example. Coaching says, here's your homework. Put the clipboard down. Tell the truth, both to them and to yourself. Use plain words with no fluff. This isn't working for me. I need consistent repair. I need a partner who does own their own work. Truth is not cruelty. Truth is consent. Set the standard. A standard is the minimum required for access. It is not a wish. It is not a weapon. Speak it once, make sure they heard you, then watch their behavior. Walk with clarity, not cruelty. You do not need to destroy their character to justify your exit. You need to honor your data. Leave in a way you'll be proud to remember. So let's look in the mirror again. What part of you still needs to be the teacher? What part of you still wants to win the relationship by fixing it? Name that part, thank it, and then retire it. Make a decision you can stand on in a courtroom of your own values. If you stay, set a timeline and metrics. If you go, set a date and an actual plan. So again, let's look at some non-romantic examples here. So this could be, let's say you have a bandmate. You keep showing up on time, they keep showing up high. Let's talk about the co-founder. You implement retros, they chase hype. Buyout or break. With training partners, you log sleep and recovery. They mock deloads. Get a new partner. So let's get into the science behind this. The investment model says commitment rides on satisfaction, quality of alternatives, and investment. When satisfaction drops and alternatives rise, commitment falls. The dual process model of grief shows healthy coping oscillates between loss focus and restoration focus. You can cry and change your locks in the same week. That is healthy. Behavior change data says implementation intention helps. If X happens, then I will do Y. Decisions stick when they are specific and time-bound. So now let's practice. I'm going to give you 3 scripts. You use these as written. Clarity script. I care about you. I am not available for a relationship that repeats this pattern. My standard is consistent repair within 24 hours after conflict. If this is not your path, I release you. Boundary script. If you mock therapy again, I will end the conversation and leave. Exit script. I am ending this relationship on Friday. I will drop your things off at noon. I wish you well. So again, to explain the terms that we've used, because we can't always assume that people know what we've said, because their definition of a word might be different. The definition of a standard here is the minimum required for access. And yes, if you have too many standards, good luck with your life. A boundary is a rule I enforce on myself about what I allow. Implementation intention, an if/then plan that turns values into action. Now again, as a counterpoint, do not confuse a hard season with a hard person. If you see sincere repair, measurable change, and time consistency, you can renegotiate. Make a 60-day contract. Review with data, not vibes. At the end of the day, remember, leave like the adult you became, not the child you had to be. Section 6. Walking alone is not a failure. It is not cold, it is conscious. It is not selfish, it is self-respect. You're not better than them, you are done shrinking. Walking alone is a strategy, not a scarlet letter. Where did you learn that aloneness equals defect? Was it a family story? Was it culture? Was it religion? Name the script. Scripts lose power when you read them out loud. Design your solitude. Do not fall into it. Solitude on purpose heals. Isolation by accident harms. Build structure that keeps you human. So let's do a practice, the solo season blueprint. 7 days to set the frame. On day 1, write your non-negotiables: sleep window, movement, food prep, phone rules. On day 2, do a nervous system practice: 5 minutes of breath work or cold water or a quiet walk, daily. On day 3, repair ritual with self. Write 1 page after any conflict: what I felt, what I did, what I will do next time. Day 4 is all about social anchors. Schedule 2 honest check-ins this week with people who can hold truth. On day 5, this is for a purpose block. 1 hour on the work that matters, the same time each day. On day 6, beauty appointment, music, sunlight, clean space, something that reminds your body that life is worth it. On day 7, review, keep, confront, quit. Adjust the plan. Now, again, for some non-romantic examples. Let's say that you're an alcoholic and you have sobriety. You may have to skip the group trip to the brewery. Choose the meeting, choose your bed. In your career, take the role in a new city because you value growth. Build community on arrival. In creative work, finish the draft without the collaborator who keeps canceling. Ship it. Let's look at the science again. Solitude and loneliness are not the same. Loneliness is perceived social disconnection. It correlates with worse health outcomes. Structured solitude supports self-regulation and creative problem-solving. Self-compassion practices reduce shame and increase resilience when leaving a relationship. Quality of connections matters far more than quantity of connections. 2 steady anchors beat 10 shallow pings. The key terms and definitions we're using are as follows. Solitude, a chosen aloneness that restores you. Loneliness, a felt disconnection that drains you. Self-compassion, treating yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. Now, again, let's always offer a counterpoint here. Check your motive. Sometimes leaving is clarity. Sometimes leaving is flight. If your body relaxes when you set standards and you can still stay present in the tension, it is likely clarity. If you bail the second someone asks for repair, that's not clarity, it might just be fear. Adjust accordingly. Fear is only fear. Ego is only ego. So let me give you an invitation. Make a 1-page solo pact. I choose solitude to honor my standard. I will not use it to punish or to hide. Then sign it and date it. Read it before any big decisions. If you take away nothing else from this section, remember this. Alone is not empty. Alone is exact. Section 7. Final words. You cannot grow for 2. Love can walk beside someone. It cannot walk for them. That is not cynicism, that is gravity. Where are you still volunteering as their spare nervous system? Where are you still measuring your worth by how much weight you can carry for 2? Your life is a contract between you and your values, not you and their potential. Release the fantasy. Keep the lesson. Keep your pace. Put a hand on your chest. Say your first and last name out loud. Then say this. I choose my standard. I honor my grief. I refuse to carry what is not mine. Text one trusted friend. Tell them, hold me to my standard this month. Set a check-in date. For non-romantic things, let's say work, for example, you will stop fixing your teammates' deadlines. You document your lane. You let their missed delivery speak for itself. That is not abandonment. That is truth. Enduring change requires self-generated motivation. External forces can spark movement, but it cannot maintain it. Boundaries function as self-regulation. They keep your behavior aligned with your values when emotions surge. Clarity plus consequences builds integrity. Integrity builds peace. Remember, you are not leaving love. You are leaving the job you were never hired to do in the first place. And the last word belongs to you. You can love someone deeply. You can wish the best for them. But you cannot want their healing more than they want it for themselves. And you sure as hell cannot carry them up the mountain you were meant to climb alone.